I'm Dr. Ben Newman. I'm a coronavirus researcher with 25 years' experience growing coronaviruses. There we go. And so the next question for today is one from MK. Welcome back, MK. And it is a question of filtration efficiency in masks. And it's fine. It's actually slightly different to some of the questions we've had before. So the question is, when you're wearing these, and I've worn these masks, like a surgical mask, through mammoth caves. Yeah, that was pretty gross by the end. And sometimes just in the Texas heat. And what happens is that you're breathing out a lot and the mask gets wet. And when the mask gets wet, it feels like it is harder to breathe through, and that is absolutely what happens. So the question is, does a wet mask still work? Does a wet mask still filter properly? And so, yeah, there's a couple ways to answer that. So first of all, just in terms of a test you can do at home, take like a dish sponge, one of the little rectangles. I would get a new one, and pinch your nose and put it over your mouth, and breathe in through it while it's dry. And it's not going to be the easiest thing, but you should be able to breathe reasonably through a dish sponge because it's got big holes in it, and yeah, that's fine. I guess it depends on which kind you get. There'll be some of the polymer ones that may have smaller holes and be harder to breathe through, but I think it'll be fine. Yeah, obviously don't do it till you pass out if you got one of the bad ones. Then dip that sponge in water, yeah, and do the same. And you know what's going to happen. You're going to end up sucking a bunch of water in from the sponge and not really getting much air in. And even if you wring it out, it's going to be much harder to breathe through that sponge because there's a bunch of water in there blocking the little passages where the air should go. So from just a mechanical standpoint, wet masks do not work as well as dry masks. And when your mask gets wet, you need to have a backup in your pocket and you can change it out and put it on because, for starters, it's going to be hard to breathe. Now, there's more to the story. And so they look into the different mechanisms with how masks can work and face shields. And we want to scroll down a little bit until we get to the... yeah, I think it's the next figure. There we go. There we go. So this is a figure looking at filtration, like how many particles get through. And this is with a sort of a dispersed mix of particles. They're vaporizing salt water at different sizes, just a random mix. And then they're checking how much salt actually gets through because they know how much was in the water. And so what they find is that the penetration is really good for these, and this is an N95 filter, so this would be close enough to the KN95 actually mentioned the question. And you can see you got great actual filtration there on these different ones. That's when they are dry in panel B, and so look at this 0.01. That's our level. Percent penetration, and up here penetration is around 1%, and so the difference between those is about 100-fold. So when it's wet, it looks as though the water can actually carry some of whatever's outside in. Now 1% penetration is not the same as 100% penetration. You're still getting some benefit, but it's going to be harder to breathe. And this is a thing where if you can plan ahead and just grab a couple masks as you're heading out the door, or as you're at whatever place you get free masks from near you, then you're prepared, and then you're ready, and then it'll probably be all right. So there you go. That's the answer to the question. Yeah, wet masks are not as good as dry masks in multiple ways. Yeah, you should change it if you can. All right. Thanks very much. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.